Hey everyone, I'm back with our book Aminas Voice, our chapter book. Today I'm going to be reading chapter 2 for you. If you haven't seen chapter 1 yet, go ahead and check out that video on our YouTube page. I think Dr. H labeled it as Chat with Mrs. Christman, but it is chapter 1 of Aminas Voice. Or it's available on my Power School page. So today's chapter 2. Before I get started reading, I just want to make a couple of little announcements. Number 1, make sure you're checking out Power School pages for your teachers, for me, Mrs. Deem, and Mrs. Gillespie. We have lots of stuff up to do on there. And then number 2, some of you have heard this announcement yet, and some of you haven't. I'm going to be having a baby in July, and it's a little girl. And so we are trying to decide on a name. So I have a poll question on my Power School page for you so that you can vote on what baby name you think I should name my baby. All right, here we go. Aminas Voice, chapter 2. I spot Baba's car pulling up outside the music school building and stuffed my song sheets into my folder. You nailed it, Amina. We'll pick a new song next week, Mrs. Kuckelman says. Her face has been smiling for the past 6 years that I've been pounding on the yellow keys of the Tony Fritz Music Center's piano every week. It wasn't long after I started lessons that Mrs. Kuckelman told my parents that I have perfect pitch, since I can recognize any musical note. They were overjoyed, especially Baba, who loves the word perfect when it applies to his kids. How's my Gita? Baba asks as I scrambled into the backseat before the car behind us has a chance to honk. My father says he calls me Gita, or song, because even my newborn crying was to the theme of his favorite Bollywood movie, Kook Kook Hota Hai. I'm sorry if I didn't say that right. Really hungry, I say. Where's Mama? My mom usually picks me up since Baba's schedule is so unpredictable. She's at your school for the back-to-school night. We are going now. We? I'm not supposed to go. It's only for parents. Can't you drop me home first? No, there's no time. Baba shakes his head. It's fine. You can wait in the hallway. I want to explain to my father that it would be completely embarrassing to be the only kid tagging along with her parents at back-to-school night. But he would just say, in the Urdu accent he hasn't lost after living in the Milwaukee area for 20 years. Embarrassing? I don't understand this embarrassing. Why do you care what people think? It's okay, you don't have to go. Mama's already there, I plead. You must be tired. Your mother wants me to go, and there's only half an hour left. It's settled. I don't argue further and sink into my seat, glad for a change that Baba doesn't allow me to sit in the front seat so I can sulk in peace. I've been begging him to let me since I'm turning 12 in 5 months, but he hears too many stories about airbag disasters from the trauma team he works with at the hospital. And since I haven't reached the recommended minimum age on the airbag warning sticker, and since I barely weigh 80 pounds, I'm lucky he doesn't force me into a booster seat. We get to school in time for the last 3 classes, since there are only 10 minutes allotted for teachers to summarize their lessons. By the last session, I honestly don't know who's wishing more that we hadn't shown up, me or Mrs. Gardner. Maybe Baba is trying to make up for being late, but he won't stop asking questions. So these experiments, will they include lab work? All the other parents are shifting in their seats and checking their phones. I look at Mama, trying to will her to control my father, but Mama is beaming with pride over her husband's interest in my education. And that wraps up back to school night, Mrs. Gardner finally says after answering Baba's last question and ignoring him when he raises his hand again. Thank you for coming. We've had a successful first 3 weeks of school. If you have any other questions, please email me. Then she hurries to the back of the room, grabs a bag from the closet, and ushers us out the door. Your teachers seem nice, but it sounds like you'll have a lot of work, Baba says on the way home. He pulls into the driveway and turns around to face me, dark eyes serious. You must study very hard in middle school. You see what happened to your brother? I know, Baba. My older brother was a star student in elementary school, but once he got to middle school, Mustafa's grades went downhill. Since he started high school this year, dinner often becomes lectures about how Mustafa needs to get serious. And a few nights ago, when they thought I was in bed, I heard my parents talking about him getting out of control like those American boys. I am American, Mustafa likes to remind them whenever they say something like that to him. Sometimes he even mutters, if you didn't want American children, you shouldn't have moved to this country, but usually only loud enough for me to hear. Hey guys, Mustafa says as we walk through the garage door. He's sprawled on the old sectional with the television remote. We aren't guys. Is it so hard to say salam properly to your parents? Mama grumbles while I put my shoes away. Her accent, along with her complexion, is a bit lighter than Baba's, and people have a hard time guessing that she's from Pakistan. I smile as I remember that guy in Urdu is the word for cow. Mustafa winks at me as Mama goes into the kitchen to warm dinner. Mustafa's in a good mood, so maybe we can eat in peace. How was back to school night? Mustafa asks as we sit down at the table. Who'd you get for homeroom? Miss Bixler. I don't hide my surprise that he's asking. My brother doesn't usually act like he cares a whole lot about me or what I'm doing. When he isn't watching TV, he's texting his friends or pushing past me in the hallway to go to his room and close the door. Is she new? I don't remember her, Mustafa continues chewing. Yeah, I think she started last year. If Mustafa had Miss Bixler, she would have probably asked me, Kokar, are you related to Mustafa? On the first day of school. Our last name is an obvious giveaway, and I'm used to being linked to him. But now I don't know what to say when his old teachers ask how he is doing. I figure they don't want to hear about the C he got on his science test or how he was grounded for the past 2 weeks for talking back. So I just stick with, he's fine. Did you finish your homework? Mama asks Mustafa. I did it all at school. Don't worry, Ma, Mustafa replies with a mouthful of chickpea masala. It has too many onions in it, and I push my food around on my plate with my naan, wishing I were eating the rest of my peanut butter sandwich from lunch instead. We won't worry when we see all A's on your report card. Baba clears his throat like he always does when he's extra serious. You're in high school now, Mustafa, and it's not a joke. I know, Baba. Relax. The school year just started. Mustafa puts down his fork, his head lowered, and I brace myself for another argument. But as Baba wipes his plate, Mustafa jumps out of his seat, stacks the dirty dishes, and carries them over to the sink. Then he puts water in the kettle and takes out the tin of tea leaves for making chai instead of going back to the couch. What does he want? So I was talking to my guidance counselor about college and how I need some extracurricular activities, he said, while loading dishes into the water. Did she suggest mathematics club or science club? Baba asks. That would be great for getting into medical school. No, actually, I was thinking of trying out for the basketball team. Basketball? Baba frowns. No, why basketball? Timothy next door says his son is captain of the chess team. You should do that. But I'm good at ball, not chess, Baba. Mustafa drops the silverware into the dishwasher with a clang. My gym teacher thinks I have a good shot at making JV as a freshman. Basketball will be a distraction from schoolwork, Baba says. His brow wrinkles. Your grades should be your number one priority. But my counselor says I have to be well-rounded to get into a good college. Good grades aren't everything. It sounds like Mustafa has been thinking about what to say. I noticed the line of stubble on his jaw. Recently, it's like the brother I've known my entire life has vanished, and a total stranger, one with better hygiene, has moved into his place. For years, Mama begged him to at least wash his face in the morning and even got him special men's woodsy-scented foaming face cleanser, but he didn't touch it. And now Mustafa practically lives in the bathroom, shaves, gels his hair, and drowns in cologne. The weirdest part of it all is Sujin saying that she overheard girls on her bus talking about how cute he is. Gross. There's only one way I can think of Mustafa as cute. In the photo that sits on the mantle in the family room, there's a 4-year-old version of him in a bow tie with a face covered in blue birthday cake icing. Do they have sofas at basketball practice? Mama chimes in. All you want to do is lie down and watch TV all the time. Come on, Ma. Mustafa hangs his head. And what about the driving? Who's going to take you and bring you from practices and games? You know what time we get home. Plus, there's Sunday school, too, I blurt out. But I wish I could take it back when Mustafa shoots me a death glare. Yes, your sister is right. School and Sunday school have to come first, Baba agrees. Mustafa looks helplessly around the room, frustration growing in his eyes. I better do something. I slide out of my seat and stand next to Baba, giving him a quick kiss on the cheek. He rests his hand on my shoulder, and after I take a deep breath, I speak up. You know, Sujine's cousin got into Harvard, and she said it was because he was captain of his basketball team. Harvard? The real Harvard? He must have good SATs also. Yeah, the real one. All I know is he was really good at basketball. Sujine said that her whole family couldn't believe he got in because he's not even smart. Is that so? Baba muses. Basketball. Here's the permission form for tryouts, Mustafa says quickly, giving me a slight nod to acknowledge my effort. Please think about it. He pulls a folded paper out of his pocket and places it on the table. Okay, we'll see, Baba says. He clears his throat again, this time to signal he's done with that conversation. Guess who I spoke today? Who? I ask. Your Thaya John. Baba's voice deepens as he utters the title that means dear older brother of my father. He is coming to visit. Akka? Mama's eyes widen. They actually gave him a visa? I tried to picture my uncle, who I haven't seen since I was 6 years old, the only time I've ever been to Pakistan. I had fuzzy memories of the trip, a large house with a green metal gate and a guard in front and a big buffalo in the backyard. But I really only know Thaya John as a grainy figure on Skype, who my parents make me say salam to from time to time. Yes, he sounded very happy, Baba says. He clears his throat before continuing. His visa is for 3 months, so he'll be here for a while. We all glance at Mama to see how she will react to having someone from my dad's family stay with us for so long. When does he arrive? Mama looks in Baba's direction, but she doesn't wait for an answer. We have to get the house fixed before. The garage has to be cleaned. I want all of those boxes out. Mama rattles off more tasks in super hostess mode, but then she stops mid-sentence and points at Mustafa and me with a warning look. And you two better behave. No fighting and no being rude. That's right, Baba says. I want my brother to see that my kids are just as disciplined as his, and that I made the right decision to settle here. I don't think he's ever forgiven me for not returning to Pakistan. What do you mean? I asked. My brother always thought I'd come back after my residency, but I didn't. Baba's eyes grow thoughtful. You know, I was only a couple of years older than you, Mustafa, when my father died and your uncle took care of me. I respect him so much that if he told me it was day outside when it was night, I would agree. That makes no sense, Mustafa starts to argue before Mama shushes him. That's the way respect works. No talking back. Remember what I said. You two better be perfect. Mustafa and I exchange grimaces. Even though I'm happy for Baba that his brother is finally coming to America, he's basically a stranger to me. And 3 months is an awfully long time to have a guest live in our house, especially someone who is never wrong. Plus, it's going to seem like a whole lot longer if we all have to pretend to be perfect the entire time. That's the end of chapter 2. Next time I see you guys, I will be reading probably chapter 3 and 4 because they're both kind of short. So tune in next time for chapter 3 and 4 of Aminas Voice.